Okay, so we're also doing insect photo challenge, but this is me. This is me in my element. I'm doing a presentation down in the South Bay. I'm out and about like this, and my occupation now is I'm a business analyst for the city of Oakland, and I've been doing that since 2008. I'm working on a GIS project, and GIS is geospatial information systems, where we collect data about all of the infrastructure. That's stop signs, traffic signs, striping on the curb and sidewalk, everything that beep, buzzes, every part of the infrastructure for the city of Oakland. And then we're maintaining that in a database called CityWorks. So I'm the application administrator for CityWorks. I got my MBA with the technology emphasis at the University of Phoenix, and did my BS in business management also at the University of Phoenix. I'm co-founder, this is my nonprofit, this is the great stuff, is that I'm founder of the Insect Scientists Museum. I'm also executive director for a group called the West Oakland Green Initiative, which our current project, we're writing a proposal to get 2,000 trees planted in West Oakland. And West Oakland is been identified as an area that's highly impacted by particulates in the air. And so we're planning to plant 2,000 trees with the Department of Transportation and some other community partners that will filter out those particulates. And then I'm a board member with another group and other groups too. My background, ethnically, I'm Black and Japanese, so I'm a traditional California family. I was born in Japan. I've been in the Bay Area since '64. My dad was in the service. Met my mom in Japan and brought my family back to the US. And I've been living in Oakland on and off since about '67. This is my family. This is my wife on the left. We've been married, it'll be 32 years in December. That's my family when we were younger. And Paul will remember us. That's our family now. Those aren't all my kids. Those are extended family. But we've been growing in bigger part.
I'm only seeing the presenter. I'm not seeing the slides that he's presenting.
Okay, so you want to click on speaker view. Go to the top left of your screen.
Okay.
And you should see something that says speaker view. Well, no. There should be an option for speaker view. You might have to click on a few different buttons.
There we go. Thank you.
Sure. So that's the family now. That's me on the left. That's when I was thin. And that's my mom and dad. And then this is me when I first got radical. Well, no, I've been radicalized by a University of California, Berkeley graduate student. And by the age of 17, I was fully radicalized. This is me with my Bug People shirt on.
Love it.
Yeah, people probably won't remember, you probably don't remember Regina Burke, who was in David Wood's, if you were at Berkeley, he was in David Wood's class, lab. And then, let's see. Yeah, so she was my den mother when I was in the Cub Scouts. And so she saw me flipping rocks, and she said, no, kid, let me show you how to do it. And she taught me how to tear back tree bark and find pseudoscorpions and termites and wood-boring beetles. And that was great to have somebody to be my mentor. And then I started at a very early age. This is me with my first bug. So how did I get into insect photography? Well, I've been taking pictures of insects since I had a film camera. That was back, I was about 16 years old. I'm not going to do the math. It's gotten out of hand now. But this is one of the photographs I took early when I got a good DSLR, and have been taking really good insect photos since about '97. We had a project, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that, called City Bugs, which did insect photography. But my early start was selling insect displays. This is one of them, at the Bone Room in Berkeley. But at UC Berkeley, I started getting my professional legs on at the College of Natural Resources, the Division of Insect Biology, where I was working with Don Dalston, Felix Sperling, and Bernard Lewis, who's there on the left.
Yeah.
And we did a lot of photography back then and created a lot of web pages. I think we were the largest website that had insect photographs on it. There was a paper written about our project, a couple of papers. But yeah, we did a lot of good work. And Bernard was my supervisor. And we got here, this is us at McClymonds High School in Oakland, where we were recruiting students from the high school to the University of California. This is my son at Strawberry Creek. He was about 4 then. And from there, I went on to do other things. I got connected with Mills College, and we did outreach to the teachers, teaching them. You could teach kids, and after a while, you know, they're going to move on. But if you're working with teachers, you know, on an ongoing basis, that's where you're really making an impact, because they're staying put and they're continuing to teach every new class that comes in. So we found that that was the best way to reach out to Oakland. And after working with K-12, there's this advent of a new population of people who wanted to know about bugs. And so citizen science was born. This is a BioBlitz that we did. I think that was in 2013 at Black Diamond Mine. Yeah, 2013. And so what we've been doing, we formed the Insect Science Museum to kind of collect photographs about insects, of insects in the Bay Area. And we've been putting them on a website, which you can find at isfba.bugpeople.org. And so this is Joaquin Miller Park, where we've done a lot of photography. We put the photos there. You can click on the photos, and then the information pops up on the right side. And unlike iNaturalist, we have pictures of our photographers and different features that are in the habitat where these insects are. Then we also take that information and we create field guides. And this one is for Medini Mayacamas Preserve. That's in Marin County. They've got really good diversity and richness there still. So it's one of my favorite places to go and do insect photography. And then these are just a couple of examples of pages that are here. We have the name of the photographer, and there are lots of photographers, and the date and time, date and location where these insect photos are taken, and another example of a page. This is El Cerrito, where I recently did a virtual insect hike. So I'll show you kind of how that looks. So throughout Northern California is mostly where we operate. We've gotten way up north and done some photography. What hasn't, the areas that don't do well are areas that we don't have a person there doing photographs for us. But we're finding through our Facebook group, there are people everywhere taking pictures of insects. And what we've got to do is start collecting those photos and adding them to our guide. Because this is not just a, you know, ISMC project. It's a citizen science project. And we want input from as many people as possible. And we're taking what we're finding in the guide, the insects of the San Francisco Bay Area, and then printing those pages out into what we call a virtual field guide. And unlike your traditional field guide, this is not something you can flip through. It's something you walk around. And so we put these out in the parks or wherever doing a presentation. And people can walk around and kind of browse the insect pages instead of flipping through the guide. But creating a presentation, or actually a display, is starting with a bare piece of wood, getting some people together, having them, you know, having them do a little bit of work, setting it up the way you want it to be, and then adding your photographs to it. And the end product is something that looks like this. So this is our virtual field guide at the Rotary Nature Center in Oakland. The Rotary Nature Center is the oldest wildlife sanctuary in North America. It was set aside for birds, but you know, the insects play an important part there too. And then we have Joaquin Miller Park, which I showed you the web page earlier, and we've taken some of those pages and made them into a virtual guide. And when we're out at tables, we put the guide out, and they can be specific to the location where we're presenting. We do presentations at Coyote Hills, Lindsay Wildlife Museum. So we're showing things that are in Livermore and other places. And it's kind of cool to see people looking at your stuff that you've created. And when we don't have big space, we have a miniature virtual field guide that we put on top of our table, and people can look at those. So virtual is big with us, but then we also have a virtual insect collection. You don't want your bugs out there where people can touch them, right? So we create these little cases where people can pick them up and they can use a loop and look at the insects that are there. This is at the GGNRA BioBlitz a few years ago. And you can mix up the display and add live insects. So we had the kids to go out and collect insects, bring them back to the table, and then we can all look at them through a loop. And loops open up a whole world. It's not as easy to carry a microscope, but a loop you can put in your pocket. Sometimes the loops are inexpensive and we can give them away or give them out as prizes. And there are many different ways to do this. We do, at our black lighting, we do what's called a Moth Palace. So we have this stand where we put the insects in containers, and they are kind of vertical, and the kids can, or whoever's there, can go through and look at them. And then we have a collection. We have one collection up at Merritt College. Again, you don't want people handling your insects. So having them in these boxes is a really great way to present them. And we do this at a lot of our different events. So you're probably wondering, do we have our photographs on iNaturalist? Yes, we do. And surprisingly, the number of observations that we've gotten in our project is really, really high. It's approaching 20,000 with 1,525 species and 265 people involved. I think that says a lot about the value and the attraction of citizen science. We've got other projects. I heard somebody mention pipeline swallowtail. I've got to find that paper because we're doing another project with Wendy Takuta. Anybody remember Wendy? She was a news anchor on Channel 4 and 5. But she's helping us lead a project called the Pipeline Swallowtail Project on iNaturalist, and we're getting observations there. The pipeline swallowtail, if you don't know, it's a really attractive butterfly. It's got a tropical look, and it has a very small range in California and Oregon for the western part. But there are a lot more down in the southeast. But we want to bring this butterfly, I'm in Oakland, so Oaklanders want to bring this butterfly to Oakland. And so we're trying to track where pipeline is being planted, trying to encourage people to plant pipeline, and trying to encourage this butterfly to come back. Any questions so far? Okay. All right, so I got to work at Lawrence Hall of Science. That was a really great experience working with kids at camp, where bugs abound. And we learned some lessons there, like if you want to get the kids to do entomology, if you want them to work with you with bugs, what you got to do is find the cool girls and become a part of that clique, and the boys will fall in line. So anybody that works with kids, that's the way to do it. So we got them really doing, really out there collecting insects, pinning them, and creating collections that, Lawrence Hall of Science got to keep. So I said it would be a great idea if we had a bug camp. Well, Lawrence Hall of Science, I kind of ended their camping program. So 10 years later, we had our first bug camp. That was by the Insect Sciences Museum. So we went back to Stagehand, which is where we started, where I started with doing working with kids. And we got people to use different tools, different techniques, and to look at different habitats and find insects. So our first group was in 2013, and we only had 7 people, but that was okay. It was a start. And then we had one person come all the way from Ohio to join up with us. I might have taken too many pictures of her, but she'd never seen a potato bug or Jerusalem cricket before. That was a really big deal for her. This is Michelle, and she just recently got her PhD in entomology. And let's see, I do have pictures of me. This is me pooting. Well, I was using an aspirator. We call it pooting. Anybody call it pooting? Raise your hand. Okay, I see a few. Okay, thank you. All right, I'm not by myself. So this is me learning that you don't poot ants. So I think I was getting carpenter ants, and I got a lung full of formic acid and felt bad for a few days. I really like Sedgefen. You can do a lot of collecting there, and nobody bothers you. This is me with a no hunting sign. And then pinning insects, and there were other people pinning insects. And we had bags full of insects. And then our 2014 bug camp was in Mendocino County, and we actually got some kids there. So when you do kids, you have to have s'mores. I don't see anybody writing that down, but you have to have s'mores when you do kids. And then this is ZL. I see people writing. Thank you, Candace. This is ZL, an insect enthusiast. His mother sent him there by himself. He was 10 years old, had a great time. And this is us again around the campfire. This is the mess we made. This is ZL in the field. And another thing, when you do kids, you got to have ice cream. So Willett has this great ice cream place. So we went there, and the guy behind the counter says, "I like what you do." So got to have ice cream. This is Prakrit. And Prakrit, he's about 14, maybe 16 now. He did a science fair project, and his mom asked me for help. His idea was that fluorescence, where scorpions, cuticle fluoresces, there's some trigger or something that causes, when they're not to be light present, they know that it's okay to go outside. So his mom asked me for help, and I started thinking about what's going on with sunlight. And I started thinking about blue-green algae and batteries and solar power. And I gave him some tips for maybe how he could tailor his presentation to talk about those things and the possibilities for energy. And he won first place in the state in zoology. So Prakrit's he's a sharp kid anyway. But yeah, he benefited by some of the work that we did. And at camp, you got jokers that want to get up on rocks and and be king, and then the little sisters want to do the same thing. But Prakrit is, like I said, is a really sharp kid. Here he is with his mom helping him with a Pepsis wasp. And then this is ZL. I think, where is this? Oh yeah, so this is 2015. This is the Mojave Desert. And we went down. There's a kid, this little guy in the middle, his name is Jasper. He was in an article where he went and met E.O. Wilson. And I said, we need to connect with this kid. So he just happened, I reached out to him. His father wrote me back and said that we're going to be in Southern California when you come to the Mojave Desert. So we'll join you. So we connected. And we went in the field, and we do what you do when you do insect collecting. We connected with another group down there, a conservation group, that was happy to help us with photography and even aerial photography. So they took pictures of our group as we were doing things. But as you know, when you do a lot of bug collecting, there's a lot of insects to pin. So this is us struggling to get all of our insects pinned. And this is a group picture with our antennae up. Us in the field. Then our last bug camp This was 2018 or 2019, back at Sachan Creek, and us being excited about what we're seeing. This is Kenichi. Anybody know Kenichi? Okay, Kenichi is the developer, one of the two co-founders of iNaturalist, and iNaturalist has been since taken up by California Academy of Sciences. Are you hearing me okay, or is my voice too low?
I hear you fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So, and then we, of course, we're pinning insects. This is a huge fly that somebody was working on, and we're out taking pictures of insects. And this guy here, what was his name? He's washing rocks. Okay, this is for, I don't see Vince here. It looks like he left. Anyway, he's washing rocks and getting benthic macroinvertebrates. One of the projects we did, I work for the city of Oakland, so I have an in with a lot of different groups. This is our building maintenance group. And one of our gardeners had this idea of we need to have a bee hotel at Lake Merritt. And so these are the two guys, and you can see how big the hotel is, that built the bee hotel. And I'm trying to make it a Northern California attraction, destination. But there's the Big Bee Hotel. There's the mini Big Bee Hotel. There's an edible bee hotel. This is Mayor Kwan visiting the bee hotel. This is the bee hotel on the front cover of the Oakland Museum magazine. And you can do bee hotels all day long, but it doesn't really make a difference. The real proof is whether or not you have people moving in. Well, bees moving in. And so this is a bee moving in, or having moved in. This is Mayor Libby Schaff at an appreciation that we did for her, holding up our logo. And this is all of the stuff that's pre-COVID. And there are not many more slides. I won't bore you all night long. But the post-COVID stuff is really taken off in a different way. We've been doing, Facebook outreach for a long time, but recently we've gotten a lot of new members, and even today we've got 8 people wanting to join. So this is our page, and we're doing a project. Well, not a project. We're doing a program called Insect Photography Challenge, where we have people around the Bay Area pretty much that are sending insect photos in on different things. We create an album. Let me raise your hand if you're a Facebook user. Okay, I see a few, good. So we create these albums where people post their photographs. And as you would have it, people like the photograph, and whoever gets the most likes wins. We've got some people that share their photograph all over, and they attract people to the page, and they get more likes, and then they win. So this is an example this is the pin that we give to our winners. This is a really nice pin. It's about 1.5 inches high, and it's got gold plating. Well, it's not real gold, but it looks like it has gold plating, and these are our finalists. So right now we got 1,400 people in our Facebook group, and you can see that in March and April there was a bump, and then since then it's just really taken off. So if you're trying to do outreach online, there are a lot of Facebook people. So you can make a big difference by reaching out to those, using Facebook as a channel. And then this is kind of showing how engaged people are. There are ups and downs, but mostly they've been pretty high since March. And then you can see other things. If you have a Facebook group, it allows you to pull out the demographics. So we can see what day of the week is most popular. We can see what time of the day. So we're posting our big stuff, after 5 o'clock. All the way up to 11 o'clock, people are up on Facebook. And then you can also download data. So we downloaded data, put it into a spreadsheet, and we can see some of our demographics. We can see that women, there are 193 women between ages 35 and 44, where for the men, there's only 108. And then we can see the differences more clearly over here. The top pink is for women and the blue is for the men. And then we're getting interesting posts. One of them asking just what kind of spider is this, was seen by 523 people, and there were 29 comments. And the thing I like the most here is this one I sent out about BioQuip. Anybody get the letter from BioQuip? Raise your hand if you got the letter. The BioQuip is having trouble. They've been hit hard by COVID-19. So I put a letter out. I copied the letter to the Facebook page, and it was shared 39 times. I thought that was significant. So, we're able to reach out to help our partners. And then we're seeing interesting posts again. This is one that just came in yesterday, which is about katydid eggs. I've never seen katydid eggs before, but this was really interesting to me that they look like this. And then somebody was writing about the firefly and facing extinction. So these are examples of things that are happening in the Facebook page. Other things that are happening are the effort to save Del Puerto Canyon. If you've heard of Del Puerto Canyon, raise your hand. Okay, I see hands. Who's been there before? Okay, I see hands. Okay, I've never been there, but I know how important it is. When I was at Berkeley and the students were going out working on their different classes in the collections, invariably they'd end up at Del Puerto Canyon. And so there's a plan to build a dam there. And so there are some groups that are resisting that. And I think there may be some entomology people that might be interested in saving Del Puerto Canyon. So that's one of the projects that we're supporting. We want to go down and make a collection and put it online, just like we do some of our other projects. This one here is Point Malate in Richmond. So they're facing development, as you would expect. And so before that happens, we want to go in and get photographs. Same thing we did for Nolan Park. We went and did a survey. And then, so we're looking for people to help us out. I know everybody's schedules are busy, but you may know somebody who's looking for something to do, or maybe, looking for something to do or some way to support. All these areas here we need support in. So as we move forward with COVID-19, we're continuing to do stuff online. This is an example of a virtual bug hike that we did, where you can click on these different areas and see insects that are associated with different things. Over here, for example, it says blackberry, toyon, manzanita, stone, things that are underneath the stone. And if you go down further, click on them, you can see the insects that you'd expect to see there. So that's kind of our presentation. The things that we're going to be moving ahead on is preserving different areas. Like you might have heard that some of the funding was cut for the UC Natural Reserve System. Seichang Creek is part of that reserve system. So we're supporting Seichang Creek. Still supporting Nolan Park, even though they did tear down those hundreds of trees to put up an area about conservation. We're still supporting, we're starting to support Point Malate. I can read the Spanish, but everybody can't, but I signed the petition. And we're learning a lot about working with kids. We're finding that the thing with a lot of minority kids, especially, is you can't invite them to your program. You've got to go where they are. And you're going to get kids who are really engaged. But another part of that is you're going to meet adults who want to be part of the storytelling. So there's a whole set of values that they want to pass along about their experiences growing up with insects and nature. And so it's great to involve them too. There was a story about a kid named Jamal from Oakland. and he came up to Seijan Creek, and he was a know-it-all. You know, he was going to take all of the equipment and go out on his own. And we told him he had to use the buddy system. And this is a story. And one day he disappeared. And it turned out he had gone out on his own, and we had to search for him. We brought out the bloodhounds and all kinds of helicopters, and there was never any sight seen of him again. But on cold fall evenings, when the sun was bright and the wind was still, you could hear a voice through the trees saying, "Never poot ants." Hey, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, back to you, Candace.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing about all the projects that you've done with Insect Sciences Museum over the years. And it was really neat to see different virtual tours and stuff that you put together. I think that's quite innovative, to show the map and then zoom down and see what's at the different locations. That's, I think, pretty fun.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So does
Anyone have a question?
Yes, I have a question.
Okay.
I like to work with kids in Chile, and I think that idea of putting the insects inside of those little boxes is very good, because sometimes I had a hard problem because they want to go and touch and, you know, and then you go, don't touch this, don't touch this, no, 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 no. But in this way, they can get a closer look at the insects, and they can put it under the microscope themselves. It's not something stuck there in a microscope that they have to go in. They can interact more. I think that is a fantastic way to engage the children, because they can turn it around, you know, so you don't have to go, don't touch that, you know.
That's what you do. Yeah, so the cases are they're really great. They're inexpensive. The distributor is Tap Plastics. If you're doing a small number of cases, you can go to Tap Plastics. But if you're going to do a large number, you want to go to the manufacturer, which is the AMAC Plastic Products Corporation. I think they're in Sausalito.
And actually, you can see through that, right? If
Yes.
you put it, okay. So that's what is cool, you know, that the children can touch that, and they can show it to each other, you know, look at this, you know, this picture, and then they can engage in conversation and curiosity. So I think that is awesome.
Yeah, and then using loops instead of microscopes. I mean, if you have a microscope, go ahead and use a microscope. But loops, I find, are way easier to use. When you get down to around 4-year-olds, they don't have the skills to manipulate objects. So above 4 is usually pretty good.
Yeah. So you get children 4 years old and less than that?
Yeah, some of the parents bring their 2-year-olds up, and they're not going to be able to appreciate what's under the scope, you know, or under the loop. Yeah.
Oh, well, I was just a question about the 4 years old, because I have seen 4 years old very entertained with the insects. So.
Oh yeah. They just don't have the skills to manipulate objects yet. Yeah. You can try. Yeah, there are some.
They don't need it. Thank you.
You're welcome. So Candace, is this usually how you end your meetings, is with the speaker?
Yeah, I'll ask if anyone has any other things they want to add, or any other questions.
Yeah, I would like to add. I think it's really important that you engage the kids, especially the young kids, like 4 years older. So this is when we kind of need to convince them that entomology is the coolest thing on earth. So that's when they are. I mean, when they're 16, it's harder to get their attention. But
You're
4,
right.
6, that's a really good age. And I have a few big beetles which I let them touch, and
Mhm.
if they break it. That's not. I mean, they are kind of like trash specimens with no labels or some big scarabs from the tropics, but I always think it's important for the kids to hold something that big or that unusual in their own hands, and then
Mhm.
if you lose some, that's not a big loss. But I thought it's funny because I have the same little vials from Tap Plastic, and I sometimes put insects in to show people so they can better see that, because I realized that a lot of people have difficulties with a microscope. When you look for the first time through a microscope, you see nothing.
hmm hmm And then let me give you another source. There's a group called precisionproducts.us where I can get loops for about $1 each.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they've got a minimum, just like BioQuip does. They've got a minimum order, which is like $25. But if I'm getting 25 loops, that covers it.
Yeah.
And
So I have a question, because I did a couple of classes to children 5 years old in Chile that they are really, really, really poor kids.
yeah,
So I have the displays, but they really want to touch the things,
Yeah.
and but they were really engaged, and the teachers were there. And I think that it's a fantastic way to bring everybody. Like, these children were really from the most poor school in Santiago. So,
Yeah.
but the curiosity and the engagement was just high. So,
Yeah.
so do you have a loop there that you can show us?
let me see. Well, this
So-
is not one that you want to use. It's just one I happen to have here. But this
Oh.
also came from Tap Plastic. I'm sorry, not Tap. This came from Precision Products. This is for looking at maps. But I do have a drawer full of loops.
So you are talking about those loops that they, ordinary.
Not the ones that you typically see. Let me hold on a sec. Oh, it's way up high.
It's okay.
Oh no, I can get it.
Don't fall down.
I won't. So you can't see this one well, but it's in its still in this. This is a 7 power illuminated. Can you see that?
Oh.
And this one, I think it's $1.50. And if it still works, yeah, you've got a
Oh
light
my
too.
God.
And so this goes up to your eye. Yeah. This one's the higher end one, so it's more than $1.
Yeah.
Can you see that? You can see that okay?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so they're not very expensive, but again, the group is precisionproducts.us.
Okay.
And there are all kinds of different loops. Yeah. You can get the kinds that go on glasses and all kinds of different loops.
I have bought some loops online before. One thing I would mention is, I don't know about Precision Products, maybe they're better, but some of the ones I bought it turned out to be really poor quality, and they would fail, like the ones that have light in them, they would fail, before the battery wore out. I went out and bought about 50 of those little button batteries, thinking I was going to use those things, and I ended up having to throw them away.
Yeah.
So if they only cost 50 cents, that's okay. But anyway, just watch out for the